Hi everyone, thanks for clicking on this video today. Today I want to discuss stocks. The stock market is a very interesting place, to put it lightly. And it impacts us all in a certain degree, in some form or another, because we're always bombarded by the news, the media, who tell us this is what's happened in the stock market. Stock market's gone up, gone down. It affects the economy, on how the stock market is essentially operating. So it affects us in all parts of our life. At the start of this year, I made I wanted to learn just a new, something new that I've never been exposed to before. So one of them things I came across was stocks, and I thought, yeah, actually that sounds alright, because I always like your money has to work for you. So if you've got any money, you want that to be working for you and making your money. So I'm always into diversifying, and I feel like the stock market is one opportunity where, again, you can put some money in there, and hopefully over time it grows and increases, just like property or a business. And I thought I'd look into it. So what better platform than YouTube? So as always, went straight onto YouTube, just listened to absolute hours and hours of videos. I mean, God knows how many hours I've listened to. Anyone and everyone. I've been listening to them, and you pick up certain things. And the idea was, I'm one of them people. If I need to look into something, it annoys me. I have to really delve deep into it and understand as much as I possibly can. And the one thing that obviously came with stocks was, in addition to that, which is now in tandem really, is crypto. So that's another world altogether. So again, they both now are seeming to come together to a certain degree, and therefore I had to learn that part as well. Anyhow, went on my little journey. It's been about, we're in almost 7 months now, 6-7 months since I started. So I've listened to a lot of information, and obviously studied the stock market. Now, of course, I'm not an economist. I'm just a normal person, like majority of any listeners that I'm going to have here. So it's just my personal experience, or what I feel like so far, at least, I've learned from it. The stock market is interesting because ultimately the stock market, if you really go down to the bare bones, it's got nothing to do with a company. And not a lot of people tell you this, but that's got nothing to do with a physical company to a certain degree. So for example, you can have a phenomenal company that's growing, but if no one is buying that stock price is going to stay low. So a lot of it's got to do with marketing, I believe, and a lot with a perception of the company and getting people to buy into the company. Because as I mentioned, if a company, for example, in the last 10 years, the revenue grew 20-30% every single year, or 10%, or whatever percentage, but it grows consistently, it doesn't necessarily relate to the stock price also growing at the same level. Because that ultimately depends on who is buying and who is selling. So if no one's buying it and no one's selling it, the stock price is going to stay there. It's just going to stay at a constant level, or even possibly drop. So that's one of the things I learned, that ultimately it's really speculation. A lot of it is just speculation. But in that madness, there is a bit of rationale behind, in obviously the big companies, whereby although it's again speculation, over time, over history, that's what it's worked upon, and it's where you can get good gains to a certain degree. It depends what people class as good gains. But I think for the average person, it's a good avenue to, if you've got some money aside, it's definitely something to consider, at least. You don't have to put your life savings in there, but I think it's definitely something you should continually always invest into, because it can only benefit from my research I've done. I don't think it hinders you. I don't think, because ultimately, if you put it in the bank, you get no interest, for example, right? Your money's not growing. You've got to let your money grow, and especially with inflation, you're literally losing 10% a year. So if you put £1,000 in today, next year it's worth £900. You're losing money if you have it cash. Now, of course, when you put money into the bank, that's what they do with your money. I think they times it by 9. So if you put £1,000 in, they can lend out 9 times. So £9,000, they will literally do that exact same thing. They'll get that money, and they'll say thank you very much, and they'll go invest it in X, Y, and Z. They'll get larger returns and keep your money there whenever you need it. So and they're paying you like whatever it is, 0.5% or probably even less than that. It's ridiculous. So they're making a lot of money off your money, and you're not making nothing. In fact, you're losing money. So it's a good. That's why I believe it's a good avenue to have some money in the stock market. Now it can seem daunting because there's thousands of companies, you don't know where to begin. But again, going back to it, YouTube, fantastic. And that's why, guys, please, if anyone's listening, please subscribe, please like the video, please leave some comments, because if you're listening to this, someone else may well listen to this and they'll benefit from it. So please do that, because ultimately that's what YouTube is. I think it's a phenomenal educational tool, for me at least. That's where I learned a lot of information. Of course, there's a lot of let's say suspicious information as well at times, or biased information. But look, you never focus on one person or one channel. You always do your full research, or as much as you can, listen to a variety of people, and through listening to all them people and different ideas and different strategies, you'll pick up on certain things that'll be consistent, and then you form your own mind, and obviously then you put that into practice and you learn from experience. There's no shortcut. You've just got to, it's trial and error, and you've got to learn yourself. That's the best way of learning. No one's going to come and give you the blueprint and the formula, because no one has that. Even the greatest investors like Warren Buffett, there's no set formula really. It's you know, they get it wrong as well. So you just gotta be a little bit wise and just, you know, do your research. As long as you've done your research and you're confident, you should be fine. So don't be hesitant. You know, take the plunge, take the first step at least, and the other steps come along with it. So yeah, going back to the stock market. You know, again, you don't need to do much research. You can literally go and get, for example, invest into S&P 500. Now, that's basically the biggest 500 companies in America. And if one of them companies falls below a certain level, they just get replaced by the next company that's waiting in line, like 501 or whatever it is. So it's always got the top 500 companies of America. And if you feel like the American economy is still going to grow, you know, these companies, Facebook, Google, etc., then to invest in there is a good idea, because you'll get, you know what, yeah, I think the average is about 8% a year. Of course, sometimes it may go down. It normally does every, I think, 6 years. But whenever it goes down, whenever it comes back up to being high, it always goes to a higher point than it was previously. So it sets higher highs. So you're always going to make money in that sense. Now, of course, there's always skeptical people, and they'll say, "Oh, well, yeah, look at the economy. It's going really bad, you know, things are going bad, it's going to go down." Yes, it may well go down. That's fine. The stock market doesn't always just go one way. It goes down, but it comes back up. And look, the biggest thing about the stock market is, or anything, always look at the history, the whole history of it. And if you go back, whatever, 130, 40 years, the stock market only goes one way, and that's up. And that's been through world wars, it's been through 9/11, it's been through a COVID, housing market depressions, recessions, and it still comes back higher than before. So for me, that's enough validation. I mean, I don't need to think about the bad times ahead in that sense. I don't care about the bad times ahead in that regard. I'll still put money in there. Yes, in the short term, it may go down 20%, 30%. But eventually, 4, 5, 6 years, I know it'll start. It will turn, and when it turns, you'll be in the green. So you can't time the market. There's no such thing as, oh, this is the bottom. You have nobody has any idea when the bottom is. So forget the bottom. If you're trying to time the market, there's many studies and many research been done where when you time the market, no matter how perfect you time the market, you still lose money compared to the person who consistently puts money in. It's not even close. So forget timing the market, it's not going to work. The best thing you can do is something called dollar cost average, which basically means you're averaging in all the time with consistent deposits. And that's the best way, that's what I found. As a matter of fact, what I found also now, looking back 6-7 months, is the fact that don't put all your money in at once. No matter how tempting and how good the feeling is of, let's say you put some money in, it's gone up over a month, and you know, this is brilliant, right? It's going up and up because it can drop just as hard. So that's why I always put some money in, because really you want money when everyone's fearful, when everyone's pulling their money out of the stock market. That's when you want to be putting money in. It's as simple as that, because when you keep buying low and you keep buying, let it drop. Don't get scared by that. Keep putting money in, because eventually it will turn. And if you keep putting money in consistently over time, then what will happen is you'll be somewhere towards the bottom. When it turns, then guess what? You're right at the bottom, and then it's going to go up for a while. It may ever come down a little bit, but go back up. So you want to be in that position whereby your dollar cost average is very low, and that way, then all you're going to hopefully see in some years' time is green, 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 green. That's why it's very important not to put all your money in at once. It's just dollar cost averaging. Whether it's even if it's going up, just dollar cost average, but maybe even less, because like I said, when it goes down, that's when you should be doubling down, essentially putting more in if possible. Now, of course, we don't all have surplus incomes of thousands. So whatever you're comfortable with, it can be £50, £100, £200, £500, but have it consistently put into the right companies. S&P 500 is fantastic. 500 big companies, put it in there. You'll get a decent return, a lot better than your bank. There's no point saving money. That's just a waste. So don't be doing that. And again, if you want to get a bit more confident and you're a bit more comfortable, then look into some certain stocks, the big companies, perhaps start with them, and just have a look at which ones are better. And then you've got the crypto side, which is a lot more volatile, a lot more riskier, because ultimately you haven't got a business really behind it. But if you believe in that, if you believe the future is going that way, which I do, you definitely should take a punt at that. But maybe that's not the best start, so it's not possibly a good place to start. At least maybe the stock market's better, you get comfortable with that environment, and then the crypto market becomes a lot more straightforward and a lot easier, because it depends where you are in your research and your knowledge about the stock market, I guess. But I've learned a lot. It may only be 6-7 months, but I've probably learned the equivalent of someone who's probably done it for 2 years, because the amount of material I consume is incredible. I mean, I sometimes watch 8-9 hours of videos and material a day, if not even more sometimes. So it's a lot of research, and then I actually implement it, I actually do it. So yeah, that's my 2 pence basically on the stock market. I think it's a very good avenue for people to capitalize, and especially in this environment where you're getting no returns. It's tough out there. Yes, the stock market's also going down, which again, it coincides with what's happening in the economy. But again, if you keep putting money in, the day it turns, guess what? It's going to benefit you. And you can sit back then, and it's just especially for long term as well, it's very good. It's like a pension pot, and again, you can take gains out along the way. It's not as if you just leave it in there and never touch it. No, you can take it out whenever you like, but you always want to keep something in there so it keeps growing, it keeps compounding it eventually. Because don't forget, when it starts to compound, a lot of people don't see this and they don't realize this, but the beauty of stock market is when it starts to compound. So the first 3-4 years, you're not going to see much, but then after that, if you be patient and consistent, then it really starts to escalate, and the graph is totally different of how it escalates compared to how much you actually put in. So that's why it's very important, guys, that you consistently invest and just be patient. Let them years go by. Don't touch the money, or try not to touch the money, because you're just affecting your potential gains, and eventually your revenue should sky off, and then you can pull out some gains along the way, and look, there you've got extra income. It's just another way of putting some money in. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. Please do subscribe, hit the subscribe button and the like button. Give me some comments, I'll respond back personally, and I hope you liked the video today and it's informative. Thank you so much. Cheers. Thanks. Bye.